Welcome to Inside Education, a public information show about Grand Island Public Schools. Today's show features two new members of the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education. My name is Sarah Mirza, and I'm a senior at Grand Island Senior High. Our guests today are Board of Education members Randy Blair and Tanya Broadwell. Good afternoon, Mr. Blair.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
The Board of Education appointed you in October 2010 as a Ward B representative to replace board member Lynn Werner after she moved to a home outside of Ward B.
That's correct.
You were selected in October from among 4 applicants for the position and took the oath of office at the November 2010 board meeting.
Right.
Could you describe for me the process you went through as a candidate before you were appointed to the board?
Sure. Initially, there was simply a letter of interest that I submitted, as well as an application that was filled out. At that point in time, after they had reviewed the applications, the 4 of us who were selected to be interviewed by the board, the sitting board, were brought in, and each of us were interviewed by the individual board members for a period of time. And after that particular meeting, they did make their decision.
And why did you decide to apply for that spot in the first place?
Well, it's interesting. I have always followed education very closely. I've always appreciated schools and school teachers and what they do for our community. But the school board had always been just an organization that I was vaguely familiar with in the community. But at the advanced age of 50, I and my wife adopted a little baby girl, and as she began to grow up through the Grand Island public school system, I began to see the impact on her life, and became far more interested in what was going on within our district and how the decisions were made within the district, particularly by our school board.
So you have worked as the executive director of College Park since 2003, is that right?
That's correct.
Could you describe your job responsibilities there?
Sure. Basically, College Park is an institution or a location where a number of different educational institutions, particularly of higher education colleges, have a number of classes, and they offer to our community the opportunity to get 4-year degree completion, as well as graduate programs. And when I stepped in as the executive director there, I began to see that there was a great deal involved to this thing we call education, because my responsibilities there include not only making certain that the educational needs, particularly the higher educational needs of our community, are being met through the programs that are offered by the colleges that are there. I do assist with some of the curriculum development that goes on there. We run the building, we own the building, make certain that everything stays open and operational. And then I handle all of the financial aspects, which is really my area of expertise as it relates to the financing of not only the work that we do there at College Park, but simply making certain that the building stays open and available for the classes that are taught there.
And so how will your job at College Park help you as a Board of Education member?
I think one of the things that it taught me is all of the different components that go into this thing that we call education. It's not just about what takes place in the classroom, although that certainly is the most important issue. But there are so many support issues and support services that have to be in place in order for us to be able to provide the kind of educational programming and in our school district, the kind of educational experience that we want to provide for our students, particularly the financial aspect, because you do learn, particularly when you're working for a nonprofit organization such as College Park is, how to do as much as you can with limited resources. And that, of course, is something that school districts themselves face on an all too regular basis.
Right. And backtracking in time even further here, before working at College Park, you were the founding chief executive officer of Nebraska Wireless Telephone Company in Grand Island from 1997 through 2000. What did you do in that position?
Okay. Yes, this is my second tenure in Grand Island. As the founding CEO of that particular organization, I was hired by a group of small Nebraska telephone companies who wanted to get into the wireless industry.
Okay.
I'd spent a number of years in that industry in southwestern Colorado, building systems. As the CEO, I came in here basically and took the FCC licenses that those particular companies had in hand and developed the business plan, arranged for the initial financing, did a great deal of the initial engineering of that particular system, did the hiring of the executive staff, some of the training of them, and actually got the business then up, running, and providing service here in this particular area. Ultimately sold my interest in that particular venture and then moved on into the mergers and acquisitions side of the telecommunications industry.
So obviously, and as you mentioned earlier, finance is your area of expertise here.
Correct.
So what college did you attend and what were your majors?
Well, it's interesting. I guess it proves that you never really know where you're going to end up. I did my undergraduate work at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas. I had a double major in English and music theory. And I did not have a teacher certification at the time. So what does one do with an English major when they're not certified to teach? I went into commercial restaurant and hotel design and spent 12 years in that industry, built primarily on the fact that I had taken drafting courses in high school and sort of started from the ground up, ultimately working for one of the larger design build firms, commercial design build firms on the West Coast. And spent 12 years doing that before I left that particular profession. My wife and I began a nonprofit organization on the Southern Ute Indian Reservation in Ignacio, Colorado, which is just outside of Durango, Colorado. Began an after-school program there, and while I was there, I became involved in the wireless industry as a general manager of a little system there, and then worked my way up through that industry as well.
I don't even have a witty response to that. I'm just incredibly impressed right now.
I guess I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Well, that's reassuring for me anyway.
Right.
So, okay, going back to the present time,
Yes.
after you joined the Board of Education, what orientation occurred to update you about the school district and board member responsibilities?
Well, it's interesting. We just completed that. I had a very, very brief initial orientation session with Dr. Cass and with Jennifer Worthington, who is the president of the board at this time. And then just this past week, Ms. Broadwell and myself had the benefit of spending an entire day in orientation with the various and sundry directors of the different areas of administration for the school board. It's given us probably just enough information to be dangerous, but at least it gives us a starting point and a point of reference as we kind of dive into our responsibilities as board members.
All right, so what would you see right now as being your strengths as a member of the Board of Education?
Probably my financial background. That's the thing that has kind of driven my professional success over the years. But I think another thing is, even though I'm a very old man, I have a very young daughter, and the perspective that I have, I think, as a parent of a child who is in the school system, certainly brings to me kind of the humbling aspect of the responsibilities that I have. But probably if I bring anything at all to the board from the standpoint of my own experience and talent, it's my financial background and experience in that arena.
All right. Just out of curiosity, how old is your daughter right now?
She will be 10 in about 3 weeks.
All right. And could you just describe for me once more the responsibilities that Board of Education members have?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I always thought of the Board of Education as this very, very complex, extremely powerful organization. I wasn't sure exactly what it was that they did, but really the responsibilities of the board are relatively simple. We represent this community and ensuring that the educational needs of this community are being properly met. We work with the school board superintendent, or excuse me, with the superintendent of schools, with the members of the board, and with the members of the administration to help develop the vision for our school system, to establish the goals of the system, and then to ensure that the administration, as they carry out the day-to-day activities of the school, of our school system, that those goals are met, that the vision is realized. And we basically are there to support the administration and the superintendent in whatever ways we can to ensure that they have the tools that they've got to be able to do the job that they have before them.
Well, then it's good for them that they have you, I guess. And then finally, could you just tell us about the professional groups and activities in which you participate?
Okay. Well, I've served on a number of boards in the last 8 years that I've been here in Grand Island, including the board of Noon Rotary. I've served on St. Francis Medical Center's Foundation board, advisory board to Doane College. I was first sort of introduced to the school system here through an advisory board of community members that meets with the school board here. I sit on the board of directors of the Salvation Army as well. And I teach both the graduate and undergraduate level courses for Doane College here at the campus here in Grand Island.
All right. Well, Mr. Blair, thank you for joining us today on Inside Education.
Well, thank you.
Enjoyed talking to you.
I appreciate it very much. Thanks.
Our second guest today is Mrs. Tanya Broadwell. Mrs. Broadwell was elected in November 2010 to represent Ward C on the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education, after former longtime board member Lynn Cronk decided in 2010 not to seek re-election to the position. Mrs. Broadwell, when and why did you decide to run for the Board of Education?
Well, this was going to go back probably to real early in 2009. I was chairing the chamber board at that time, and Dr. Joel was serving on the executive committee with me, and of course we were hearing his vision of a career and technical education center unfolding. And at that time we had also organized a trip to Maricopa County in Arizona. We were there to look at a couple of different models that they had that were successful. And you go there and you see, and you can get really excited about the potential of having something like that in our area for our students. And so he caught me one day in the parking lot after one of our meetings, and he just asked me, have you ever considered being part of the Board of Education? And frankly, I hadn't really thought about it, but I did. And so I gave it some thought. I kind of looked back on my community service in the past and looked forward to what my interests were, and I thought the time was right.
So you took the oath of office at the January 13th Board of Education meeting. What do you think are your strengths as a member of the Board of Education?
Well, I think I bring about three things to the table, really. I think the business background that I have, I spent half of my career at Central Community College, and so that gives me a little bit of insight into the administration of education. Spend my second half of my career in private business. And so I think I do bring a business aspect kind of complemented with education to the table. Certainly my career has been centered around technology in a variety of shapes and forms. And so I think I also bring some perspective in that front. And then, like Randy commented in his interview, I'm a parent and I have 3 children in the school district at this time. I have a first grader, a second grader, and a 6th grader. And so as a parent, I think there is a perspective there that you can bring to the table as well.
Of course. And how will your background as a graduate of Grand Island Senior High help you as a Board of Education member?
You know, that was over 30 years ago. I was a 1979 graduate of Grand Island Senior High, and I'm sure that a lot of things have changed over those 30 some odd years. But you know, the love that I have for Grand Island, and certainly the pride that I have graduating from senior high, are still present with me today. I do feel that I got a great education here in Grand Island, and you want that for all the other children.
Yeah. And so right now you work as the Chief Operating Officer for Kelly Supply Company in KDSI. Mm-hmm. Could you briefly explain what your job responsibilities are?
Sure. Well, basically in a nutshell, I work with the Stockholder Board. It's a privately held company, okay, to establish their vision and strategic planning, and then they count on me to turn around and implement that within the company. And we're a multi-site company. We have 13 physical locations in 3 states, so it becomes real challenging to try and infiltrate that down throughout the organization.
Right. And so soon, we're backtracking a little bit here, soon after you graduated from high school, you began working at Central Community College in Grand Island as a key punch operator.
Yes.
And then worked at CCC as a computer operator and analyst or programmer. Could you describe how you progressed from those jobs to your current position at KDSI?
Sure. Well, you know, that was a 16-year career there at Central Community College, and I did start as a key punch operator. A lot of people probably have no clue what that is. I punched holes in cards. Okay, see, that goes back a long ways. But the other thing that happened with me at Central Community College is that that's also how I got through my education. I earned 3 degrees while I was working there. So as I would progress in my education and opportunities would open up for me, I progressed also in my career. And all of those things kind of lined up well for me to turn around and do my second career now, and I'm able to utilize not only my work experience there, but the things that I also learned in my education.
And you just mentioned the 3 degrees that you gained while you were there. So you have a degree from Central Community College, Bellevue University, and George Washington University.
Yes, I do.
Could you describe for me what you studied and which degree you earned at each school?
Sure. Well, with Central Community College, it was an Associates of Applied Science degree in data processing. I don't think they even use the terms data processing anymore. My degree at Bellevue University was in the Management of Human Resources, and my degree at George Washington University is actually in Educational Technology Leadership.
Well, it sounds perfect for this then. Actually, speaking of which, what can public school districts do to prepare graduates for lifelong work with technology like yours, just because of how fast technology is changing?
That is definitely a challenge, and I'm pro-technology. I love to see technology integrated into life, into education, into work. But I think the problem outside of budgetary issues, the fact that technology changes so fast, is that you've got to embrace the technology, and you have to try to make that technology relevant for the children. So if it's relevant and if it's engaging, then the children are gonna learn from it. And I'm also pro lifelong learning, and I think that what you want to promote all through a child's education is the whole notion that just because you graduate, it's not over. You continue down that path of learning. And I think technology plays a key role in that. Before we went on the air, you and I were talking about my degree at George Washington University, and you seemed a bit surprised that I was able to get that degree without ever going on campus. And that's the power of technology. I was able to earn a master's degree and step foot on campus twice, once to meet my advisor and once to graduate.
Wow.
And so you can see the promise that's out there, and that's what we need to try within our means to our school system here.
Absolutely. So how do you think technology can be used to motivate students?
Well, I think we got to meet them where they are. And unfortunately today I'm not so sure that we are doing a lot of that. So that's a challenge, a big challenge going forward.
Mm-hmm. And what about parents? What can they do to introduce young children to the use of technology?
Today it's probably the other way around. The parents are probably learning more from their own children.
That might be true.
Yeah, that's not going to be that way forever, though. Certainly as the youth of today turn into parents and they've grown up around technology, that's going to change. It's just not quite there today. But if you're a parent today, I think you need to concentrate on embracing and encouraging technology. That's how you'll be able to get on board with it, and you don't want to fight it.
And finally, and a little bit of a tangent here, can you tell us about the professional groups and activities in which you participate?
Sure. Currently, I am serving on my second term at the Chamber, so I have 2 more years as a Chamber Board member. I've been chairing for many years their Information Technology Committee, and so I'm going to continue to do that as long as I can. I also participate on Central Community College's Information Technology Advisory Committee, and spent the last 5 years serving alongside with Randy on the Salvation Army's advisory board.
All right. Well, Mrs. Broadwell, thanks for being interviewed today for Inside Education.
My pleasure.
Best of luck with your spot on the board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching this month's Inside Education. Grand Island Public Schools appreciates the community's support of our students and staff with their motto, every student, every day, a success. Join us again next month for another edition of Inside Education.